Hey there, internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of TV Thursday. In honor of the return of Game of Thrones Season 7, I spent last weekend watching all of Season 6 for the first time. I didn't have HBO Go or anything like that, so I didn't watch along last season as it was happening. I knew a lot of the big moments that were coming just because, I have a Twitter account, but it was still a ton of fun to watch, and spoilers never really bother me because I'm always a fan of it being more about the journey than the one moment. So there were still a lot of great moments to enjoy in Season 6, and here are 10 of my favorites, in no particular order. The night is dark and full of spoilers for Game of Thrones, of course. Number 1, the Battle of the Bastards. The war between Jon Snow and Ramsay Bolton was pretty much everything I could have wanted. They'd set Ramsay up to be such a disgusting, terrible villain that it was great to see him kind of finally get his comeuppance. The fight itself was giving me a very Helm's Deep from Lord of the Rings Two Towers vibe, and that was before Littlefinger came in with the Knights of the Vale at the end. And the final little bits where Jon and Sansa really got their revenge on Ramsay were just icing on the cake, because both of those characters have suffered so much through the series that it was nice to give them this win. Number 2, Arya Stark Reborn. After another season of denying her past, kind of trying to get into the Faceless Men, her arc this season I thought was great. She started out kind of the blind pauper, and then slowly got weaned back into the League of Assassins, basically. When she was tasked to assassinate this actress, she ended up seeing the play of kind of everything that was going on in Westeros, and I think it kind of re-sparked her thirst for vengeance and reminded her of her father and who she was, the Stark name. So she refused to kill the actress. The waif attacked Arya, but Arya was able to fend her off and defend herself and ultimately win the battle, reclaim her name to Jaqen, and return to Westeros and get her lovely, delicious vengeance on the Freys in a very Shakespearean Titus Andronicus fashion. It was wonderful. I loved it. Number 3, Hold the Door. A very somber moment for poor Hodor as the tragic truth about his name and past were all kind of revealed in one, where he's essentially created in this time loop with Bran visiting the past while the White Walkers were trying to overtake them in the present. We see poor Willis kind of go into fits and be forever changed, repeating the phrase, hold the door, hold the door, hold the door, until it becomes, and he becomes, Hodor, the man who would carry Bran beyond the wall and defend him until his dying moment. Rest in peace, Hodor. Hodor. Number 4, we had the Mad Queen. In King's Landing, the arc pretty much all season was Cersei versus the High Sparrow, and kind of their back and forth battle, and it was a losing battle for her diplomatically and politically, so she had to resort to the tactics that the Mad King had started, or had attempted to start all those years before, by completely destroying the Sept with the wildfire stores buried underneath. She blew up a whole bunch of her enemies while trying to protect her son Tommen, but Tommen, so distraught from everything that happened, took his own life, leading to a dangerous Cersei on the Iron Throne as the Queen, with pretty much nothing to lose at this point. Number 5 brings us to the Daenerys block of these items on this list, with Daenerys claiming the Dothraki. She spent the first half of the season kind of tying up some old Dothraki business. Apparently, as the widow of Khal Drogo, she was supposed to go off and join the other widows when he died. She did not, but now that the Dothraki had found her, they took her back there and kind of kept her prisoner for a while until Jorah and Daario arrived to help her escape. But rather than just leave the city empty-handed, she goes into a hut, burns all of the other Khals, walks out as Daenerys the Unburnt, and basically gets the remainder of the Dothraki hordes, all of them there, to join her in her quest to retake Westeros. Number 6 stays with Dany, and we have Daenerys sending Jorah away, because shortly after all of the Dothraki business, Jorah reveals his grayscale condition to her, and in one of the small, heartfelt moments of the series, we get to see really how much Dany has grown to care for care for Jorah and fears losing him. So she orders him to go find the cure for this disease because she needs him by her side when she goes to retake the Iron Throne. We'll probably never see her love Jorah in the way that he wants her to love her, but she does love him nonetheless, and it's a very touching moment. Continuing on with Dany, number 7 is Daenerys retakes Meereen. After we've seen Tyrion try all season diplomatically to handle kind of the unrest and the growing tensions in Meereen, it took Dany's return and her dragons and just some all-around badassery to finally shut the Masters up, presumably once and for all. So there's a lot of great action here. Like I said, everybody kind of comes across as a badass in this moment, and it served to put a nice button on Dany's time in Essos. Because number 8, Daenerys heads west. The Greyjoys have brought Daenerys a fleet, and she can finally start bringing her armies west to Westeros to set up the series endgame. 6 long seasons, and Dany is finally heading home. Away from Daenerys, number 9 is people not being dead. Jon Snow, obviously, is the big one that came back from the dead, but we also got to see the Hound survived his encounter with Brienne, and even we got to see Benjen Stark again for the first time in so many years. If utilized too much, making this idea that people can just come back from the dead, all the time, certainly lowers the stakes overall in the story, but I think it's been used sparingly enough that it's special when it does happen. And so we have, of course, Jon, because of his lineage, which I'll get to in the next point. He's very clearly too important to the story's endgame to have been discarded so deftly by the betrayal of the Night's Watch. So it would seem that the Lord of Light is not yet finished with him. The Hound, we also got to see nursed back to health and reunited with the Brothers Without Banners, or the Brotherhood Without Banners, leaving the possibility open for a battle between the Clegane brothers, the zombified mountain that's down in King's Landing, and the Hound, who seems to be heading up to join Jon. And then we had a nice little moment where we saw Benjen Stark for the first time in so many years, helping out his nephew Bran in his state of caught somewhere between life and death. He died, but the forest folk brought him back to kind of serve this purpose and serve the Three-Eyed Sparrow. So it was a nice little moment tying up that loose thread from near the beginning of the series. And lastly, number 10, Bran's vision of Baby Jon. Bran's vision to the past at the end of the series, or at the end of the season, confirms the long-standing fan theory that Jon Snow is actually the bastard son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, a child of Fire and Ice in the Song of Fire and Ice series. How this is going to play out in the show's endgame remains to be seen, as I imagine it'll be kind of hard to convince people of his heritage, since, everybody involved is dead, and anybody who could have confirmed it and isn't just saying they're seeing this in visions of the past is dead. But I am very much excited to see what this leads to for the new King of the North. So those are some of my favorite moments from Game of Thrones Season 6. Let me know what some of your favorite moments are in the comments below. I've certainly been keeping up, and I watched the premiere of Season 7, but this video is already long enough, so I don't need to throw in some thoughts there, except that, yeah, it was dumb that Ed Sheeran was in the show, because I was like, is that Ed Sheeran? And it took me out of the moment, but big deal. Deal with it. Move on. It's a TV show. Anyway, I'm your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.